Mr. President, I come to the floor today to raise concerns. Concerns both about the next vote we will take, a vote that will or will not confirm President Trump's nominee, Brian Benczkowski, to lead the criminal division of the United States Department of Justice, to be the Assistant Attorney General, supervising the Department of Criminal Justice, the Division of Criminal Justice, and to express my concern about our President's actions at the NATO summit and his upcoming meeting with Vladimir Putin, President of the Russian Federation. Let me start with Mr. Benczkowski. I come to the floor today to speak in opposition to our proceeding to his confirmation. Mr. Benczkowski has been nominated to serve as the Assistant Attorney General in charge of the Criminal Division at the United States Department of Justice. How big a division is that? 10, 50, 100? It's actually got 900 employees and 600 career federal prosecutors. The U.S. Department of Justice takes up and handles, investigates, prosecutes cases of an unbelievable range, complexity, and sophistication in every district court in the entire United States. And one would have to assume that to take on such a significant, such an important role as overseeing, supervising, and managing 900 professionals, 600 career prosecutors, Mr. Benczkowski must be very qualified to serve. As someone who is himself an admitted member of the Delaware Bar and serves on the Judiciary Committee, I would hesitate to suggest that I had the qualifications because I've never tried a criminal case in court. So I'm not sure how I would directly supervise a whole team of career federal prosecutors. But Mr. Benczkowski has never prosecuted a case. He's never supervised a criminal prosecution. In fact, he's not even ever appeared in federal court, by his own admission, except for one or two limited occasions to address routine scheduling or other matters. Mr. Benczkowski is here before us nominated to supervise the single largest, most complex, most sophisticated law firm in America for criminal matters on behalf of the people of the United States without relevant experience. In my view, that alone is disqualifying. That alone should lead us to pause in terms of whether we should confirm this man to lead the criminal division as an assistant AG. Virtually all of the last several Senate-confirmed AAGs for the criminal division have had extensive prior experience as prosecutors, former U.S. attorneys, career or elected, folks who've either been within the Department of Justice or attorneys general, and with good reason. The federal government holds enormous power and discretion when it comes to criminal prosecutions. And the Assistant Attorney General is responsible for overseeing offices that investigate and prosecute money laundering, fraud, organized crime, public corruption, and a host of other serious offenses. And it is that AAG who ultimately signs off on some of the edgiest or most difficult or most questionable prosecutorial decisions. Every American should expect that the person nominated for this important job is qualified to meet the weighty demands of this job. Second, Mr. President, every American is entitled to the assurance that the Department of Justice is independent and that criminal prosecutions will rise and fall with the facts and the law and nothing else. And sadly, Mr. Benczkowski fails to pass this test too. He led the Department of Justice transition team for the Trump administration. He previously served with our now Attorney General, former Senator Jeff Sessions. But after leaving the transition team for the Trump administration, he then went on to the private practice of law in a firm where he represented Alfa Bank, one of the largest Russian banks, a Russian bank which, through its owner, a Russian oligarch, has close ties to Vladimir Putin. Mr. President, it's just hard for me at times to believe how many people immediately around the president and his cabinet, his campaign team, or him personally have had concerning, inexplicable, difficult to understand ties to Russian entities. But here we are again. To be frank, I'm concerned that Mr. Benczkowski's position, if he's confirmed by this Senate in just 5 minutes in a vote we are about to take, could enable him to directly interfere with Special Counsel Mueller's ongoing investigation into Russian interference. I've raised concerns about this, about ensuring that Attorney General Sessions fully complies with his recusals from matters related to the last election, and adding Mr. Benczkowski to the mix in an absolutely central role as the Assistant Attorney General overseeing the criminal division raises these concerns even further. Adding another senior person to the Justice Department leadership team who raises these concerns about independence gives me real pause. I joined all of the Senate Judiciary Committee Democrats in a letter asking the administration to move Mr. Benczkowski to some other position and send us a qualified, capable nominee without concerning Russian connections. And unfortunately, the administration hasn't done that, and my friends on the other side of the aisle seem poised to confirm this gentleman today. This concerns me more than ever because of what has just been said by our president in Europe to our vital NATO allies. There's a number I've been holding in my heart this week, 1,044. 1,044. That is the number of NATO troops who have died in combat in Afghanistan, serving shoulder to shoulder with the United States. President Trump is correct to raise the issue of contributions to our mutual defense. President Trump has had a real impact. He's gotten our NATO allies to up the ante by more than $14 billion in the last year and a half. And I wish he had gone to Brussels and simply said, thank you, folks, for increasing your contributions. And now let's focus on interoperability, on deployability, and on linking arm to arm and facing our real adversary, Russia. The NATO alliance exists for mutual defense. How can you successfully defend when you can't successfully identify your real adversary? Mr. President, I've just returned from a bipartisan trip to visit Sweden and Denmark, Latvia and Finland, 2 NATO allies and 2 very close security partners. All 4 of these countries fight alongside us in Afghanistan and have suffered combat deaths. In 2 of those countries, first combat deaths since the Second World War. So when our president makes misleading, mistaken comments that NATO doesn't pay its fair share or is using us as a piggy bank, or as he said in a campaign-style rally in Montana, that NATO is killing us, it really weighs upon the hearts of our vital allies who have sent their young men and women to serve alongside ours and in 1,044 cases to die. We need to respect our vital allies and recognize that for 7 decades, our NATO allies and our security partners, whether the 4 I just visited with the Republican chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee or the others among the 29 in NATO, they are stepping up their investment, but they have already paid a price that few other countries have paid of sending their sons and daughters into combat alongside ours. And rather than questioning their commitment to our mutual security, I wish our president would celebrate that they've increased their investment, thank them for their strong partnership and alliance, and begin facing our country towards its true adversary, Russia. With that, Mr. President, I yield the floor.